For as long as I can remember, I believed my life was complete. I had a home that radiated warmth, a partner I trusted with every fiber of my being, and a son whose innocent laughter filled the air with joy. To the outside world, we looked like a family stitched together by love, respect, and harmony. Friends often told me I was lucky, that I had everything they longed for. And in many ways, I thought so too. My partner and I had shared countless memories, quiet dinners, whispered promises, and the kind of laughter that only comes when two souls feel safe with each other. There were moments when I truly believed nothing could shake us. Yet, in the quiet corners of my heart, I had begun to notice a distance forming. At first, it was subtle, unanswered questions, glances that lingered too long on a phone screen, conversations that ended too quickly, but I brushed those doubts away. After all, every relationship faces its seasons, and I was determined to believe ours was strong enough to withstand them. Our son was the bridge that held us together. His wide eyes seemed to hold the world's innocence, and his small gestures, running into my arms after school, sharing stories about his day, reminded me why I worked so hard to keep our family intact. To him, we were his heroes, the pillars that made his little world safe and unshakable. He noticed more than we realized, but I convinced myself that children always imagine things, that their observations were playful rather than profound. As days turned into nights, I could not ignore the subtle cracks forming in the life I thought was unbreakable. My partner seemed distracted, preoccupied with thoughts they never shared with me. Nights, once filled with quiet conversations, were now interrupted by the glow of a phone or the excuse of unfinished work. I told myself it was temporary, that stress was a thief stealing our peace. But deep down, I felt a stirring unease. Still, I carried on, convincing myself that love was enough to fill the gaps, that trust could be stretched without breaking. I clung to the image of our family, too afraid to question what I might find if I looked too closely. The truth, I thought, could wait for another day. It was in this fragile balance of hope and denial that my son's innocence began to weigh heavily. He would watch us closely, his eyes following every interaction, as though trying to piece together a puzzle he did not yet understand. Sometimes he would ask questions, small, curious ones about why one of us wasn't home or why voices sounded different at night. I always gave him gentle answers, thinking I was protecting him. I didn't realize he had already seen more than I had allowed myself to see. And so, I continued in my carefully built illusion, unaware that the fragile world I had crafted was about to be shattered. Because one night, with a whisper so quiet it almost vanished in the dark, my son would tell me something that changed everything. The night was quiet, wrapped in the kind of stillness that makes every sound sharper, every movement more noticeable. I had just drifted into that half-sleep, where dreams blur with reality, when I felt a gentle tug at my blanket. My son stood there, his small figure outlined by the dim light creeping in from the hallway. His eyes, wide and uncertain, held a seriousness I wasn't used to seeing. "Can I sleep here tonight?" he whispered, his voice trembling as though he carried a secret too heavy for his little shoulders. I shifted to make space for him, pulling him close, hoping to ease whatever fear had crept into his dreams. For a moment, we lay in silence, his breathing uneven, my heart steadying his. Then, as though the words had been waiting at the edge of his lips, he leaned close and whispered something that froze me. "I saw Mom with someone else when you were at home." Time seemed to stop. His words hung in the air, fragile yet devastating. I almost convinced myself I hadn't heard him correctly, that he was still caught in the haze of a dream. But the look in his eyes told me otherwise. This wasn't a child's fantasy. It was a confession. I swallowed hard, forcing a calmness I didn't feel. "What do you mean?" I asked softly, not wanting to alarm him, not wanting to betray the storm that had erupted inside me. He shifted, uncomfortably, clutching the edge of the blanket. "I saw her talking, laughing. She wasn't like she is with you. She was different. I think she didn't see me." His words were halting, innocent, yet precise enough to sting. I could feel my pulse racing, each beat echoing the dread that threatened to consume me. My son's voice was too pure to invent such a tale, too unknowing of the pain it would cause. And yet, I wanted to dismiss it. I wanted to tuck him in, kiss his forehead, and tell him it was nothing, but my instincts wouldn't let me. Something deep inside whispered alongside him. This was the truth I had been too afraid to face. I held him tighter, masking my turmoil with steady arms. "Thank you for telling me," I murmured, though the words tasted bitter. He drifted into sleep soon after, unburdened by the weight he had placed on me, but I remained awake, staring into the darkness. Every detail replayed in my mind, her distracted eyes, her hurried explanations, the distance I had brushed aside. My son had confirmed what my heart had long suspected but refused to name. That night I did not sleep. His whisper echoed endlessly, carving cracks into the trust one thought unshakable. I realized then that my life was about to change, that love built on illusions could not survive the light of truth. And as dawn approached, I knew one thing for certain. I had to uncover the reality behind his words, no matter how much it hurt. Morning came, but its light brought me no comfort. I moved through the house mechanically, making breakfast, smiling at my son, speaking to my partner as though nothing had changed. Yet, beneath my calm exterior, my mind churned with questions. His whisper from the night before played in a relentless loop, and every gesture from my partner now felt loaded with hidden meaning. I began to watch more closely. Every glance at the phone, every late-night message, every unexplained absence became a thread I pulled at, hoping the whole fabric of my doubt would unravel into something harmless. But instead, the threads only tightened, weaving themselves into patterns too deliberate to ignore. My partner had excuses ready for everything: extra meetings, urgent calls, sudden errands. I had always taken these explanations at face value, but now I listened differently. The hesitation before each answer, the way eyes avoided mine, the faint smile that appeared when a new message lit up the screen, it was all evidence my heart wanted to deny, but my instincts couldn't dismiss. Days stretched into weeks, and with each passing moment, the distance between us grew more visible. The laughter we once shared felt rehearsed, the affection forced. I tried to remind myself of the good years, the love that had built our family. But the unease was stronger than memory. Even silence between us felt different, no longer comfortable, but heavy, guarded, filled with what was left unsaid. It was one evening after my partner claimed to be working late again that I decided to follow the trail instead of waiting helplessly. My hands shook as I scrolled through the phone, left carelessly charging on the table. What I found was enough to break the illusion forever. Messages, simple words, but intimate in their tone, revealed a closeness I no longer recognized. Compliments, late-night confessions, laughter shared in writing that I had not heard in our home for months. I remember reading each line with a sinking heart, as if every word carried a weight designed to crush me. There it was, the undeniable proof that my son had not been mistaken. He had seen the truth before I had been brave enough to look for it. When the door finally opened and my partner returned, smiling faintly, carrying the scent of somewhere else, I felt as though I were staring at a stranger. The betrayal was no longer hidden in shadows. It stood before me, undeniable, in the person I had once trusted above all others. I said nothing that night. My silence was louder than any confrontation could have been. My partner carried on as if nothing had changed, unaware that the world I had built around us had already collapsed. In that stillness, one truth became clear: my trust was shattered, and the life I thought I knew was gone. What remained now was the question of what to do with the pieces. The weight of silence could no longer carry us forward. It lingered like an unwelcome guest, filling the spaces between our words and tightening the air we breathed. My partner sat across from me, unaware that I had already pieced together the truth. For days, I had carried the burden quietly, letting it carve scars deeper than any argument could. But I knew it was time. That evening, after my son had gone to bed, I spoke. My voice was steady, though my heart trembled. "I know," I said. The simplicity of those two words shifted the entire world between us. My partner's eyes darted to mine, searching for denial, but all they found was certainty. At first, there was silence, an awful, suffocating pause. Then came the confession, soft but undeniable. "I didn't plan for it to happen," they whispered. "I was lonely. I felt forgotten." Lonely. Forgotten. Words meant to explain, but instead they deepened the wound. Had I not been lonely too? Had I not felt forgotten on the nights I stayed awake, waiting for a door that opened too late? Yet I had held on, believing love meant enduring the storms together. Betrayal had been their choice, not an accident of circumstance. I listened because part of me needed to hear the truth spoken aloud. Every excuse, every sigh, every tear felt like fragments of a story I never wanted to star in. My hands trembled, but I kept them folded, refusing to reach for comfort that no longer belonged to me. "I could have forgiven distance," I said quietly, "but you chose secrecy. You chose lies." My words were not loud, but they carried the sharpness of finality. Across from me, guilt painted their face, but guilt was not enough to heal what had been broken. Trust, once shattered, does not return to its original form. It splinters, leaving edges sharp enough to cut whenever touched. My thoughts turned to my son, to the innocence in his whisper that night. He had unknowingly revealed the truth, sparing me from years of blindness. And now, my responsibility was to protect him from the chaos of our fractured home. His world should not be shaped by betrayal. It should be anchored in honesty, even if that honesty carried pain. As the night stretched on, no resolution came easily. Forgiveness felt impossible. But so did the thought of dismantling the life we had built together. Still, one thing was certain. The illusion of perfection was gone, and pretending would only deepen the wounds. I rose from the table, leaving my partner with their regret. My steps were heavy, but they carried me toward clarity. I may not have known what tomorrow would bring, separation, rebuilding, or something between, but I knew that silence would no longer define me. That night, as I lay awake, once more, I heard my son's whisper echo in my mind. It was no longer just a secret shared in the dark. It had become the voice of truth, one that shattered my trust, but also gave me the strength to face whatever lay ahead.